What's going on, y'all? Welcome to episode 142 of Car Chats. I'm your host, Hanley, from On the Line With. Our guest will be in here shortly, and once he does enter, we'll let him introduce himself. And you know the drill. Have nothing on right now by the sponsor, but as always, episode sponsored by Diamonds Rising. And yeah, make sure you check them out. Thanks everybody for joining. And again, feel free. Hard U's in the building. Oh, what's up, Voorhees? You're... He's in the convo, but the video's lagging. I'm not sure what's going on. There we go.
Shit. Yeah. Can you see me?
Yeah, you're good now, bro.
Awesome. Awesome. This is my first time doing an Instagram live, so I'm a little new to this.
It's all good, bro. Welcome to the show, finally.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. I've heard some very good things about it from Immortal Being. Hi, Tristan. What's up?
What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining. So, as always, I always start once to let everybody know who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, so my artist name is D.O.M of D&D. I'm a Canadian rapper from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I am a boom bap rapper. I've been at this for 5, maybe 8, maybe going on 9. I started back in 2018. Some of you may remember this if you've been following me way back, but I really started picking up steam when the pandemic came around.
I feel like a lot of people did because there was just so much extra time at that point that people were able to create a lot more and see where they fit into the certain aspect of hip hop because it's such a broad genre these days. So how would you describe your you said you're boom bap, but how would you describe your style? Because boom bap's like more like an era than a style.
Right.
See, if you want to talk boom bap, if you look at who's in chat, if we go to my man Jason Voorhees Sr., if you want to hear someone on some boom bap shit, that's my man fucking Shorty Bang from Super. That's a boom bap artist, but you know, I'm not saying it's a style. It's more of an era than it is a style. I like to say. So go ahead, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off with that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so you just wanted to know what sort of style I make my music in, or like what type?
Well, you say boom bap, so like, do you just solely focus on that style of like beats and things like that?
Yeah, I focus on like the grimy Griselda Earl sweatshirty type deal, and then just throw a bunch of wordplay into it.
And how would you like? So I'm gonna ask this. I don't usually ask people because you look hella young to me. So how old are you?
21.
Okay, I thought so. I knew you were gonna be like in your early 20s. All right, so how?
Yeah.
So obviously you were born after the 90s era where boom bap was like really, really what it was. And so what made you decide to do the boom bap route instead of like what it's evolved into in hip hop these days, like the trap or the drill or the what have you?
I think it was honestly just me being raised up on M stuff and Griselda's stuff. It had a sort of grimy authenticity to me that I felt like the trap beats didn't really have much of, you know, like with like the Griselda productions, you can't really replicate like the war piano sounds, like the gritty drum sounds and whatnot, and it feels, and the cadences that people like Benny, Conway, Westside Gun, they hit really unique cadences that I feel like you don't really get from the trap scene as far as I'm concerned, unless you're just doing it as a joke.
Right. So give an example of like compare like not compare really, but like what you're saying, like transfer that into an example you could give me. Like you're saying Benny and like BSF and all them compared to as like the trap sound. Like who would you say?
Yeah. Who would I say?
Like, who would you say, like, you're in comparison? Like, are you, like, who are you equating that to when you say that?
I'm equating to maybe Benny, maybe Conway, because I'm trying to work on how to flow later than the beat, so to speak, because that's what Conway and Benny have been doing for the entirety of their careers.
And have you tried in your own, like, music career since you started any of, like, the trap or drill type style, just to see if you were able to adapt to it?
Yeah, yeah.
How'd that work for
I've worked. Um, honestly, at the beginning, I rapped really slow. Like you're talking Rick
you?
Ross cadences. I rapped really slow. I rapped really slow over those, and it didn't really work out for me because instead of people going like da 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 da, I was like da 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 da, you know?
Yeah, I feel like
Like
when most people start and they start on the boom bap stuff, they feel like the slow BPM, they have to, like, really, like, actually be like a slow rhyme or two, and it's really it's really not the point of it. But I could understand where you're coming from with that. So after you started before the pandemic, and you feel like you got a little more traction, or maybe a considerable amount more traction during COVID. What do you think changed for your music when you started doing it more in COVID?
the big factor that played into that is I discovered this subreddit called r/making hip hop. I actually moderate for that, and they hosted things like Freestyle Fridays and weekly ciphers. And I think it was just me just making shit specifically for that that helped me start to polish up, say, my flows and be a little bit more attentive to where I was landing on the beat.
Okay. Do you produce as
Yeah.
well?
Occasionally I do, but it isn't. But it isn't as polished as my rapping.
And you know what? To be honest, this whole time I thought you were from America, so I'm actually I'm very surprised that you're from Calgary.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah.
there's a lot of really dope artists out there though in Calgary and like in Alberta in general. You know.
Yeah. I've heard K the Chosen and Estadon are in my top three there.
Oh yeah. I have an artist that just moved here from Edmonton actually, and we're planning some things, but like he's shown me some of his stuff. It's great work. Shout out Hard You. And there's a lot of great artists in Canada. I mean, as you can imagine, like before I did this podcast stuff, I did a lot of hip hop myself. So like, I was intertwined in the scene, like with mostly any province I could tap into, because, well, I just couldn't find people to work with in my own city at that point. So when MySpace was happening like it was, I was able to connect with like different provinces and whatnot. So, do you listen to a lot of underground Canadian hip hop?
Truth be told, I've only listened to maybe like one or two, but that's really coming from people that I've networked with, so to speak. Like I've listened to Estadon shit. I've networked with him before. I've listened to Immortal Being shit. I've collaborated with them a couple times before. But outside of that, like the only real Canadian artist I've really listened to was Mercules.
Sounds like your era. Definitely sounds like your era. So,
Mm-hmm.
are you a big fan of Mercules?
I mean, I've really only listened to like one song. I've really only listened to like one song. That was his collaboration with the game Death Wish. I think he really hit a pocket there. But I have been meaning to check out some of his remixes he's done on YouTube.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question. If you said you were a fan, I was going to say, do you like his remixes more or his original work? Because you know there's a big line between those two things that he does, and like some people are like, I really like your remixes. Other people are like, I really like your original stuff. And when it comes to
Yeah.
Mercules, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan. I remember him from way back when he was just Big Merc and stuff like that. When he was even battle rapping at the time, like when he was with Stomp Down Killers, like Snap the Ripper and them.
Mm.
When he started started doing those remixes, and most people who know Merck personally or collaborated with him would probably agree. Once he started doing those remixes, that steady trajectory he was on took it to like a whole other destination. Like he went from doing that to ending up like doing a nationwide tour basically just off people being fans of his remixes, and I was like, how the fuck is he gonna tour if he can't perform those remixes? You know, so
Yeah, that sounds like a really difficult thing to do if you just look at it a little bit deeper, and he's not actually like getting, say, the permission for the original producers of the beats
yeah,
and whatnot
exactly.
to use them in his venues. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the way he's able to perform them, I haven't been to a live Merc show. I think I went to one a few years back, and to be honest, it's a few years back is all a blur to me. But I'm pretty sure he did perform some of the remixes, but the remixes he did perform are beats that were like remade, like obviously by a producer. So I think he was able to get away with it. I just don't think he could. I don't think he could stream any of them. I don't think he could get them on streaming platforms, because that's one of the main things I see people complaining, that he doesn't have his remixes on like Spotify and stuff.
Well, I mean, he can't really, can he?
No,
Because he'll
exactly.
just get copy struck out of the blue, right?
So since COVID, and then you feel like your traction's gotten better, how much music do you think you've released in comparison to before COVID?
Before COVID, I had like four albums out. I don't even know if you call them albums. They're just like, I had like four albums, all under like 10-ish tracks thereabouts. They're probably just EPs at this point, but it was a very low number. But I think since the pandemic began, and including my freestyles and my cipher entries, I'd say somewhere in the thousands,
Oh,
maybe. Like
wow.
maybe in, yeah. Like they host those every week, so I just wound up churning away at that during 2020, 2021, 2022. It started to taper off, and now I'm just working on making shit on my own schedule.
Okay. And the name Dom, is that like initials for your name, or is it
Yeah,
what's the D.O.M.?
yeah.
Oh, okay, it is.
D.O.M is an
And
acronym for my actual name.
the DNB, is that supposed to be drum and bass?
Oh, D&D? No,
Oh,
no,
it's
no, no, no.
D&D.
That was
My
supposed.
bad.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. People get it. People get it confused all the time, so it's fine. No, D&D was supposed to be the name of the rap group I was supposed to do with one of my classmates from junior high, but we fell out, and I just wound up keeping that moniker just to separate myself from everyone else who was called D.O.M on Spotify or SoundCloud or other
Yeah,
places.
because I'm sure the abbreviation D.O.M can be used for a lot of things. So I guess adding that extra little part to it pushes you up on the SEOs and stuff like that. So do you? Trying to think of what I was getting at before. Give me one second. Let me take a flashback.
No worries.
During COVID, do you feel like you when you started making, like, you were making music more consistently and more, I guess you'd say more more creative than I guess before COVID? I don't know if that's how you put it, but do you feel like did you get a lot of more practice in before you started putting out all the new music?
I oh yeah, getting practice for like making shit during COVID. I feel like I have gotten a lot of practice where I could just go to things like the ciphers, the freestyle Fridays, make entries for that, get critiques from that, and then put that into other projects I made during the pandemic, and during 2021-ish is when I really start applying myself in terms of how to start flowing more smoothly rather than just going stop start, because that was the style I was using in the pandemic.
Yeah, so more smooth, less choppy.
Yeah.
I
That's
feel like
what.
a lot of artists, like I said before, who start with that boom bap era and that feel for hip hop, it's hard to realize. Well, it's hard to come to senses with like you could rap a little faster over a slower BPM if need be. I mean, if you can do good chop flow and stuff and not have to, and it doesn't sound like you punch in every like 3 bars. I mean, clearly good on you, but it's not easy to do. So what do you record? Do you record all your own and mix all your own stuff too?
I do, yeah. I record, I mix everything. I just started learning how to record my vocals directly into the Edison plugin in FL Studio. I used to record just straight into Audacity and just leave it as is until some people...
Audacity, man. Oh, man. The only reason why I laugh at that is because like, when I started in like 2005 or 2004, 2005, making music and stuff and like figuring out how to do it and stuff, obviously it was all hit and miss and there was not really like great YouTube tutorials like there are today. So like Googling like free sound engineering fucking software, it was Audacity, and now I was like, fuck, I hate Audacity, man. Like I've hated it since it came to like came into everybody's life back then, and like now people are like, yeah, I used to use Audacity, and I just want to look at them and be like, yeah, Audacity.
So, no pun intended, right?
Yeah, no, all the pun intended. All of it. So I ended up using the crack version of Cool Edit Pro, which was like basically like Fruity Loops' sister, because like everyone who was making beats at the time back then was using Fruity Loops for the most part, and then they were recording vocals and stuff on Cool Edit Pro. So what makes you choose Fruity Loops to record your vocals in, other than like the industry standard, like I don't know, let's say Logic or Pro Tools?
I honestly think it just looked a little bit smoother to me, and I've tried using Ableton before. It's really difficult for me to navigate with. FL Studio feels like everything is just there, like everything is just there. Your mixer tracks are just there. Your ability to add into effects are just there,
No,
like you don't have.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Like you don't, like, with Ableton, I had to search through so many folders and click on so many things just to get, like, one effect or one mixer track,
It's a lot of trial and error when you try and migrate to a new program, especially something as sophisticated as, like, Ableton. I call it Logic or Pro Tools. So
yeah.
What is Ableton again? Is it Pro Tools or Logic?
It's the Windows counterpart to Logic.
It's its own entity, isn't it?
I think Ableton is just the Windows counterpart to Logic. I think.
Okay, yeah, because I'm out the loop in regards to sound engineering, because when I get to it, I still stick with Pro Tools or Logic.
Yeah.
So if it is Ableton, trust me, I guess I'll have a lot to learn in a few weeks when I start using it again.
Trust me. It is a lot to learn, and you really only have like 90 days in the free trial to learn it all.
Hey, so I saw part of your hat. I see the word autism on it.
It says, "Please be patient. I have autism." A cosplayer model like sent this to me as a gift.
Okay, so you're not actually on the spectrum?
I am actually on the spectrum. I was diagnosed with it in high school.
Oh, okay. See, that's what I find things amazing. Like when people are diagnosed later on in life, it's like I wonder if it's like more of a shock to like your parents if you're like when you're just diagnosed with it as like when you're born, or like later on and you end up realizing you have it. I wonder what's a bigger shock. I mean, obviously both are probably shocking, but like you've grown up like throughout high school a little bit, and then you're like, oh, by the way, you're on the spectrum, and you're like, what?
Well, I mean, the funny part is they actually knew when I was like 2 or 3. Like whenever I was in noisy environments, they always noticed me putting my hands over my ears, and they wound up giving. Yeah,
that's a common thing for people on the spectrum when there's a noisy and very like fast-paced like environment. It's like they're trying to block it out as much as they can. Because, was it because of your focus? Like, was that what you would block it out for?
Yeah, I think that was it. Like, they diagnosed me with Asperger's, but they actually finalized it to ASD in high school.
Okay. because I know
Yeah.
I had well, a classmate and a fellow graduate from my 2008 graduation had Asperger's, and he used to do it a lot too. Like, you know, like the class would be rowdy for a substitute teacher or something, and like you just see him in the back, like covering his ears or like has his heads in between his arms, and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I just hate. I
That
hate
is.
that like he's trying to block it all out because like me, I was always like one of those people who was observant and not like quick to just like jump the gun and just start talking shit. Like, why are you hiding in your head and shit? Like, nah, bro. Like there's a reason he's hiding like that. And, like,
Yeah. Like,
especially if he's not being
yeah.
targeted, you know, like no one's targeting him or nothing. So like, there's a reason he's acting the way he's acting. So like,
Yeah.
I felt the need to learn more about it, and then I took psychology and all that in college and stuff. So I have a fair understanding on it. But I always had that wonder, like, did you find out later in life? Is it more shocking, or is it more shocking as like, here's a brand new baby, it's on the spectrum?
Well, I mean, like I started to piece together why I was starting to think the way I did and why I didn't really fit in with everyone else in high school. I just knew that before that, like my parents would have all these mental health reports that they would get from my teachers and whatnot and say, "Oh, Asperger's diagnosis," and I didn't really know what that was.
Right.
It was really only until like around high school where I started getting those diagnoses, and they said, "Oh, hey, you're autistic because this is how you think. You think very rigidly. You have a very hard time trying to interpret whether or not people actually say what they mean, even after you've asked like a million times. And also, you have a very hard time coping with a lot of noise at once because your brain has to process it all at a much slower pace."
So how does I don't mean to bring the whole autism into the conversation. It's just like
No
I caught
worries.
interested and
No
intrigued
worries.
by it. And to be honest, like big ups to you, man, because like I know a lot of people with autism who really enjoy music, but they couldn't see themselves
Yeah.
actually making it or performing it because of the reasons of like the social anxiety or whatever type of anxiety.
Yeah.
How do you deal with coping with that being on the spectrum? If the noises and stuff like before music were getting to you, like music in itself when you're recording is loud, so there's no escaping it, right? So like
Yeah.
how does that work out for like someone like yourself?
Oh, wait. Is this just like in reference to like performing live or performing in a group of people?
Or just performing live, or even just recording in general, like when you have to mix it like loudly in your headphones, like do you feel like it's bothersome at all, or
I mean, like the first time around, I kind of had an issue with mic shyness, but I think it was just because I was doing it so repetitively that I just started getting used to it. And then as for going live, all I really did was just remind myself I'm only going to be here once, and if I don't like it, I can leave.
right? And have
Like
you
that's the
go ahead, finish.
Go ahead.
My bad.
Like yeah, like that was like the whole crux of why I felt overwhelmed was I was put in a very noisy situation and I couldn't leave. But if I reminded myself that I could always leave if I felt overwhelmed, it helped so much.
And have you been able to figure out a way to cope with it when you go and perform now? Do you perform often?
I haven't even started. Truth be told, I haven't even started performing. I just do ciphers, honestly.
So you're a
I
studio
do like
artist more
ciphers
so.
in real life. Yeah, yeah. I was supposed to, you've heard of ship hop before, right?
Rings a bell.
Yeah,
Mind you, I got a lot
like
of in and out messages from everywhere coming in and out. Like,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Like Ship Hop was a local open mic thing I was thinking about going to, but I just never really got around to it because I was so occupied with things. But I think what helped was me trying to ask other people what their experiences were like, as well as looking at the footage itself, just so I can build up a rapport on what I should be able to expect, you know?
so what's next for Dom then, D.O.M? Like, what do you have in the works right now?
Okay.
I'm honestly really
Okay.
amazed at the whole autism spectrum thing, man. To be completely honest with you, like I'm not shocked by it. I'm more like I'm in awe and intrigued and like congratulative towards it. Like like I said, I know a lot of people who are on the spectrum who love music, love the way it helps them. Like, because like people know there is such thing as musical therapy for people who are on the spectrum if they need it. And I know a lot of friends who are on the spectrum that have used it, but they can never see themselves making music because of the environment just being loud and noisy and just fast paced like crazy most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. Honest, yeah, like, yeah, honestly, honestly, I feel like if you're able to do it on if you're able to do it on your own time at least, and you're not worried about things such as time limits or being able to get it up as soon as you possibly can, or having a real deadline, it's going to help structure your thoughts a lot better.
Right.
And then afterwards, once you know about when things are going to go up, you can start building a routine according to that. Like, that's one of the big things if you're on the spectrum that sometimes you'll get, is that you'll have a very strong ability, is that you'll be able to fall into routines easily because your brain is always thinking of how am I going to be able to make everything as consistent as possible, you know?
Right.
So then once you're able to build up that routine, you can just stick to it as much as you possibly can and then just go at it.
And are you hard on yourself with deadlines, or do you just release as you please?
Sometimes I'm hard with sometimes I'm picky with deadlines, sometimes I'm not. Like it really all depends. For example, with World Domination 2, I was a lot more lenient on myself because I had a lot of complications with getting everything released. So I didn't really beat myself up too much for it. However, with singles where I'm doing it specifically for contests, like the one I just released, Care It All, which I did for Anno Domini's Best Rapper Alive 7, I was a little bit more strict on myself with getting that out as soon as I can, because I knew if I generate enough hype on that shit, I might be able to have a chance to get some recognition. And yeah. I don't want to do that before the deadline comes up, you know?
And just since you brought up Anno Domini, because putting myself back to 2006 and 7, I was using their beats back then. So you see how they're pushing these collaboration beats that have artists that are established already. How do you feel about that? I kind of find it doesn't. I can see how it sells.
Yeah.
I can see how it's marketable for them. I can't see how anybody that does use those beats can possibly think that they're going to be able to, like, they are exclusive beats, I guess, but there's multiple people who are able to have that same beat and that same verse by the same artist, and I don't think that's fair to sell to artists. I think it's a little bit unfair. I think it's more they're too focused on the capitalism side of things now instead of the beat making and stuff like they used to be.
Right. Honestly, I honestly think with those packs, it's really I honestly think with those packs, because of how much demand that's gone around it, the prices of them have just gone up, and as a result, people are more focused on how am I going to be able to generate views with this, rather than just saying, oh, hey, this is an artist I really like. I don't care if there's a bunch of other people who may have this. I might have the ability to transfer this onto a different beat, so it might be able to stand out.
Right.
I just want to be able to match this other artist's caliber, you know?
Have you considered getting on any of those packs?
I already am.
Which ones have you tapped in with?
I've done Anno Domini's Ritz pack. I've done their Icons 3 and Icons 4. I've done their Rap Royalty 4. And I'm on the early access list for Icons 5 with Royce the 5'9". And they also introduced me to I don't know if you're familiar with Temper Beats. They're like the UK variation of Anno Domini. I got their Hall of Fame 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I just finished mixing a version with Royce's hook actually the other day.
And how do you feel that sounded?
Honestly, I think I may have learned a little bit of that. I've learned a little bit more on how I should be treating those beat packs, because sometimes what I used to do with those beat packs is I would just write and 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 record and record and record and record, and then by the time I release it, I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. But if I actually started timing myself on how long it took to write something and record something, and then do some revisions afterwards, I felt like I started generating a lot more. I felt a little bit better about the products I had.
And with the ones you have tapped into, which of the like the packs do you think you had the best products out on? Would you say the Rich one, Icon 3, 4?
I think Icon's 4 might have. That's the one with Bishop Lamont, Chino XL, Fredjo Star, and Husk Kingpin.
Hey,
mainly because
at least you're choosing the old school OGs, man. I'll give you that.
Yeah, hello, Shroom T, what's up? yeah, but anyways, hello. Yeah, but anyways, I feel like with the Icons 4 in particular, I was able to make something that's a little bit more substantial, rather than just here's how complex I can get. Let's see how it stacks up to this other feature, you know? Right. Like that's what I did with the Husk Kingpin, where I took a little bit more of a personal approach, because that's what I started getting from his verse. It was a lot more personal. It was over a lot more of a chill beat, and then I could just use that to guide the tone of the whole track.
And since Shroom T's in here and he's enigmatic, how long have you been tapped in with the enigmatic community?
I've been around since June of 2021. That's when I got kicked out of. Yeah.
You've been with him a lot longer than me.
Yeah, we're on. Yeah, he and I have actually worked together on not just singles. We've done we've hosted a couple of online concerts.
I think he's mentioned that in the past, but my memory
yeah.
is
Yeah, like we've done, I think we did Devil's Night Festival, we did Rising of the Phoenix. We were supposed to do Burning Flower, but we had punctuality issues left and right.
What kind of punctuality issues are we talking like?
We're talking getting everyone's footage before a certain deadline, compiling all the footage, and then getting it out on the date that we advertise.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely, it's like, I mean, when, that's why it's always, like, when it comes to collaborating, it's a lot easier and better, I find still, even to this day, like, to be in the studio with the person you're making music with, and then do it organically, because I feel like once it's floating through the internet, people just tend to forget that, like, it's been sitting in their email for, like, 2 days. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, and then you also have the fact that everyone has their own thing going on, so it might get lost in that too, right?
It often, more times than not, I feel like collaborating through online processes, a lot of things get lost in translation.
Yeah, and also communication issues. Like sometimes I'll get people who will only talk with me through calls. That's where this comes in. Yeah, and then there are some people who will talk only specifically through like text, and
right.
Because of that, it's a little bit slower to try and get on the same wavelength, see where they're at. Sometimes they might forget. Other times they might have to back out because something goes on, understandably so.
I feel like it's hard to, well, obviously, I think a lot of people find it hard to tell, like, someone's emotions and tone through text anyway, so I feel like
Yeah.
that's why another thing about being in the studio is much more organic to me when creating. Have you had the opportunity to create with anybody in studio, like any collaborations that you've done?
Um, there's actually a local thing going on called Mixtape Club. What we do is we gather a bunch of producers and rappers together in a studio once every couple weeks. In the studio, we try and brainstorm an idea for a song, and then we just record. It takes like
Cool, bro.
yeah, it's like a 4 hour session.
Yeah, it's a good way to network, create, and even just put something on your, well, I guess you can't carry around your vision board, but at least like pin it on your mental vision board.
Yeah, like I have like a load. If you look through my Instagram, there's a couple of reels that'll show some of the verses I've done for Mixtape Club. I don't know if we're gonna be able to finalize it. I might have to talk with the organizers about that when I get the chance. The next time I have to go to Mixtape Club is on the 18th of November, and I'm supposed to flesh out another song that I'm working on with them.
So, in regards to projects, do you have any projects that you're currently working on, like a full album or EP, whatever you label it as?
My album that I released last month was World Domination 2, and that capitalized off of those B-packs that we mentioned as earlier, as well as also being able to collaborate with a couple of producers from r/making hip hop, namely Private Work. Very good producer. I highly suggest that you follow him. He has great quality. As well as also some people from Shroom T's camp, namely Acid Messiah. But for future endeavors, the only real things I really have in the works is I have an EP with Private Work going on right now. It's probably only going to be like 3 or 4 tracks. I've already got the first one down. I don't know when we're going to be releasing it. I do know it's probably going to be either at the start of next year or maybe December, if I'm able to get my shit together. But I can't make any promises to that.
So
like it's only. Go ahead.
Finish. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's like 3 or 4. It's like 3 or 4 tracks from Private Work. It's gonna be like 3 or 4 tracks, really small. All we're gonna be doing is it's just gonna be like some old school type shit that we got going on in the works. Very very small EP. Very small EP.
And the album you released last month, which I apologize for not being more aware of, World Domination 2, how's the response been for that?
It's actually been performing greater than some of my previous projects. Like, we're sitting at 27,000 views at the moment. I might hit 29 if I'm lucky. Yeah, yeah. Like my second most performing album at the moment. Yeah, shout out as a Messiah. He has great visuals.
I've tapped in with him. We should be sitting down soon. It's just I'm trying to get through all these backlogged ones, but we will sit down.
Yeah, all good, bro. Yeah. Anywho, yeah, the last project that did nearly as well was the Simpletons EP2 Jules Blugaloo, which is yeah, but it like that one kind of sat around at the same marker. It might have performed a little greater, might have been sitting at 30,000 streams, but I'm not quite sure. But the whole premise of that one was essentially I just take every single OnlyFans model I've watched, sample their videos, and then just put that into a song.
You got an OnlyFans fan here.
Hey, you know what? I'm mutuals with one of them, so you know. Yeah, but yeah, it is a name. It is a name. It is a name. I just came up with that shit with my friends one day. And then I told them, "Oh, hey, what if I just sample everyone I've watched?" And then they just started laughing their ass off. And then when I sent them the link, they were actually surprised at how good it was.
Well,
Yeah, but
can't really say you did it unless you did it, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
and I can't. Yeah, and like the funny part is, the people I sampled, they actually reached out and said that they liked it.
There you go. At least they cleared
Exact.
it.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, but World Domination 2 is one of the better performing projects that I currently have out right now. Has Asa Messiah on it, has a couple of beats from a producer in Ukraine. I don't know if you're familiar with the Underground Chopper series.
Not familiar, but I do know some producers out of Ukraine too. There's well, funny enough, his name, instead of Acid Messiah, the guy's name's Acid Crack, but he's a dope producer of Ukraine too. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hidden gems out in Europe and stuff, man.
I honestly definitely agree. Some of the people I've linked with in my supergroup Splinter Faction, the ringleader is actually from Southampton.
Oh, okay.
Great guy. Goes by the name of Russ Hillier. He goes into the boom bap stuff regularly. Very regularly.
I feel and someone said this the other day, they feel like the boom bap era and style is making a very big comeback right now, like as the music like drill and stuff continues to perform and outperform things, but like the boom bap style and feel is very present right now in the hip hop scene, which makes me happy because I like listening to that shit.
Honestly, yeah. I feel like you're starting to see this, especially on TikTok, where you're seeing people do open verse challenges of like you're seeing people do open verse challenges of stuff, or showcasing very grimy beats with those Griselda drums, or using very soulful samples that Alchemist would send over with Earl, and you would just see people do open verses over those, and I feel like that's what's driving some of the comeback.
Right.
Because you're seeing so many producers showcase all this stuff.
Griselda,
and you're seeing all the
Griselda has definitely brought boom bap back to the forefront in a big way.
I definitely agree. I never really heard of them until M co-signed them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So before we have to cut this off, man, is there anything you wanna just say to anybody out there before you take off, or any advice for any upcoming artists?
I mean, if we're talking advice for upcoming artists, I'd like to say consistency is key. There will be people who will talk shit about you, but as long as you know that the people who talk shit about you are only doing that because they're either jealous or they do not have a life of your own, you're already one step ahead of them.
Absolutely.
And never do not feel obligated to rush. I'm a little bit of a hypocrite for saying this, but do not feel never feel obligated to finish something same day or rush through everything. Otherwise, it's just going to come out like crap. That's what I got from Ritz during one of the listening sessions for his beat pack.
Right.
And before we have to go, I'd like to shout out the Tribe Artist Society. I'd like to shout out Shroom T and Enigmatic Electronic Entertainment. I'd like to shout out the Splinter Faction.
Definitely, bro.
Very good guys.
Definitely great things to be shouting out, especially when you're in contact with them all the time. And yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on for episode 142. And definitely, whenever you have a new project coming out, just let me know so you can come back on and promote it whenever you need to. And yeah, man, episode 142, D.O.M or D.O.M of D&D, not D&B. I had to double check again. And,
yeah, no worries, it's fine.
Appreciate everyone who tapped in. This will be up soon. And yeah, man, I'll definitely be in touch with you soon, bro.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate this.
Of course, bro. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Take care.
Peace. Peace.
Peace.